as we can stand it. This isn't a joke. Anna Kasparian hangs out with Glenn Beck on his podcast for a while, and I can't imagine a better opportunity for Anna Kasparian to make me think she's right, because it's Glenn Beck. It should easily turn into a situation where I enjoy my experience with Anna Kasparian. However, she's such a dummy. She's doing dumb shit on Twitter today, man. She's fighting with the Majority Report people because TYT fucking hired a firm to union bust.
Anna, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How
Welcome.
are you?
Very good.
Thank you.
So, for people who might not know who you are, how
Dude, they do a thing on the mixing for his voice to give him more bass.
would you describe who you were? Because you've had some transition on some things. Who you were, how you would self-identify yourself
This is me. I'm leaving the left.
over the last 10 years.
Well, I would say that I was firmly identifying myself as a Democrat.
Oh, wow.
I think that if you look at my policy prescriptions, for the most part, I'm still pretty much left-wing. There are some social issues
Hold
that...
on. Definition of left-wing to you. Is that Democrat or left-wing? What does that mean?
She's literally Kirsten Sinema. Oh my God, you're not wrong. Holy shit. Dude, I bet she would fucking love hanging out with Kirsten Sinema. I bet they would get along so much. Do you think Brianna Wu could join? We can get a fucking nightmare blunt rotation happening, which of course they would not partake. None of them would inhale.
Well, left-wing in regard to, I would say like one of my grounding political values is that workers should have better pay, better working conditions, a seat at the table. Unionized labor, I think, is incredibly important, which, it's something that's been decimated in recent decades in this country. But that's like my number one interest in politics. And that
We should have more. What about like healthcare and housing and education? How do you feel about those things?
that's not really something that has really been favored by the Republican Party traditionally.
Like it sounds like she's a nationalist socialist, to be honest. National socialist. Like she doesn't like these immigrants. She doesn't like the poors and the mentally unwell. And then, like, if you're too queer, that's too queer for her. But I mean, like, for the chosen group within the nation, she sure does seem to feel like they should have some special treatment. And I think workers' rights includes workers that come here illegally. I think we should have an avenue so that people don't have to worry about whether they're here illegally or not. They should be able to just like come through and work if that's what they wish to do, because we need the labor. And we can treat people with dignity at the same time. These don't have to compete,
Traditionally speaking. And historically, unionized labor was something that the Democratic Party looked out for. And I don't really see that as the case anymore when it comes to the mainstream Democrats. They're certainly more corporate now.
Yeah.
They're certainly captured by their corporate donors. Mm-hmm. I think that
Glenn Beck, don't fucking nod and go, This looks like the bad guy from The Matrix's room, by the way. Remember the bad guy in The Matrix? Maybe you don't. The third Matrix. You bend over to corporate interests. Like, you advocate for them, Glenn.
way that this last election went down really does show you the kind of political strategist rot that exists, the corruption that exists. And
I know she's talking about stuff she cares about, and all I can think about is, like, what if you just tapped that mic just once? It would just never stop swinging. It's just fucking forever it would be moving. So you can't touch it at all, but that makes you want to touch it real bad,
And there's
real
tension now between the voters who want...
Like just go, bah, and swing it towards Glenn, and then talk to him like that the whole time.
Very specific policy prescriptions in order to deal with the rising inequalities that we have in this country when it comes to wealth and income.
Sure.
Go.
And then you have the Democratic Party, which is heavily funded by corporate interests and money.
We're witnessing a job interview? Holy shit. That's a great title for this. Anna Kasparian sits down for a job interview with Glenn Beck. fucking true.
Interests. And what those donors want severely conflicts with what the base of Democratic voters want. And so this has been...
Bro, she is going to be advocating for the sickest, fucking grossest shit. Oh my God. She is... I don't know if this is 100% true, but I think she is either 100% nefarious or like 75% nefarious and 25% covering her ass because she sees like the fascist writing on the wall and she's like, I'll just play for that team. I don't care. You know? Like, I don't know if she's just like totally cynical and it's just about the money or if it's also like a preservation tactic. It might be both.
A growing issue with the Democratic Party. And what I see as, their campaign call is more and more culture war stuff. And it gets more and more extreme every election cycle.
What? Kamala didn't even talk about culture war shit. She wouldn't even fucking platform a Palestinian person to talk about any real topic, and she certainly wouldn't platform a fucking trans person for anything other than kissing her ass. They didn't do any culture war shit.
And I think that they're pushing more and more people away.
You just really think that they're just been I mean, I don't watch the Young Turks. I never really have gotten into it. You think they've been grifting from the beginning?
By sticking to the corporate politics while also getting more and more maximalist when it comes to some of the culture war type issues.
Like what? Use an example. It seems like a fucking cop-out to just say that. I think the Democrats definitely don't speak toward the working class at all and definitely bow down to corporate interests. The class separation is way more important than left or right to me. Like, the culture war shit is the left-right stuff. The real problem is class. I just wish that, like, right-wing didn't mean that you were a big fucking huge piece of shit now. Instead of, like, being a reasonable person. There are very few right-wingers who, like, treat people with respect. You know what I mean? Like, they just don't treat people with respect.
As I look, because it is so hard, what you do, what I do, there's so many words that come out of us every single day, and then out of context or not worded, exactly right. The way I look at the
Holy
Democratic
shit.
Party or the left,
Glenn, fucking take your time.
is that there is
Blistering pace.
the machine that is in bed now with big business, and that's just the crony capitalism, just the vomitous kind of corruption that we all hate. And
We all hate it, but I voted for the fucking worst of them. Like, literally the guy you can think of, the fucking center of all of that is someone like Donald fucking Trump. Huh? You're just spewing fucking lies. Like, you either don't know that you're a fucking fool or you're an evil person. I think Glenn's evil. Crony capitalist is just a right-wing dog. Well, they can dismiss bad capitalist acts because they know it's unethical with crony capitalism and just say, oh, it's cronies. They're cronies. But, like, literally all the capitalists are that. That's just what capital is not. That's just capitalism. What do you mean? The idea of capitalism is to accrue wealth. Of course, people are going to do it. And they're going to do it in the most close to illegal way they can because it's going to be closest to the most efficient way. It's just like, you know how you play a video game and you're like, how can I fucking like get the best build of this, or like how can I maximize this stats? Like it's not different. It's our propensity to fucking like fine tune stuff. It just is what it is.
either party, any party.
Right.
Then there's the average Democrat who might disagree on taxes or whatever, but they believe in the Constitution and they believe in the Bill of Rights and everything else. And I think that has been that is the majority of people.
Absolutely.
And then there's this crazy left-wing Marxist, destroy it all kind of group. And
what is destroy it all? Destroy it all. Give us health care. Destroy it all. Fucking, hey, maybe we should let trans people exist and just be normal. Destroy it all. Like, fucking what? What, bro? I think fucking billionaires are hoarding wealth like dragons. And there are two choices. Cooperate or be slain like a dragon, right? And then the hoard is taken. And I don't mind if that's legally. I don't mind if that's just like the fucking, like, you push people too far kind of situation. Like, I would prefer if it was just amicable and everybody was like, yeah, the system fucks. if we do it right, and it sucks if we don't. So let's make it fuck, and let's have like billionaires taxed at a normal rate, and let's have people's quality of life at a reasonable rate, and then you guys can go be a rich as fuck if you want. I don't care. No one gives a shit if people are just like rich as fuck if they're not unethical all the time. No one gives a shit. If you guys were just, if literally Elon Musk actually just made electric cars and he was just rich as fuck, being like the Willy Wonka of fucking cars like they think he is, that'd be amazing. Go for it. Go to Mars. Hell yeah, dude. I don't care. But he's not. You know? None of these guys are. It's a fucking lie, man.
And that, I don't even know, maybe 8%, 10% is that. And it's the middle people who have been either...
That's a fucking lie. This is the same thing that, look, Anna Kasparian's on this shit too. Democrats believe in this middle person. Not a thing. The center isn't anywhere. The center is a working class person who needs health care and access to stuff. And they chose Donald Trump because he's the only one of the two candidates who addressed that the system was fucked up. Kamala Harris said the system is fine. Donald Trump said the system is fucked. And that's like all dummies heard. And the rest of us tried really hard. The last time the Democrats ran a good campaign, it was unchanged. Literally, that was the fucking tagline.
Lied to so effectively by so many people, mainly mainstream media. But we're at the beginning in the Democratic Party, possibly, of those people waking up and going, I don't like either end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I take a little bit of issue with the use of Marxist in this context because honestly, I think that there's maybe a total of like 5 actual Marxists in this country. In reality, we're talking about individuals whose politics is mostly based on, you know...
I disagree that there's only 5 Marxists. I just think there's only 5... I just think, like, it's hard to live as a Marxist in this country.
Some fringe issue or some cultural issue that they have, it's not just that they care about that issue, it's that they've taken that issue and they've made it part of their identity, the core of who they are. And it's almost like what you would expect from religious zealots, you know? And so there's a
religious zealots saying that to fucking Glenn Beck.
Fundamentalism involved in the way that they treat these issues.
What issues? You say the way they treat these issues, and we're talking about like basic human rights almost always, you know? These issues, fucking human beings should have dignified living situations when their nation can make it happen. Like, it's just the way we should lift up everybody.
And there's no room to negotiate. There's no room to maybe consider the thoughts and concerns of other individuals.
She's being so fucking vague because she can't make any actual argument.
And so as they become more and more kind of like authoritarian in what they demand, they are pushing people away. And there are some issues in which the rights of one group might actually end up conflicting with the rights of another group, depending on what type of legislation you're pursuing.
Just so fucking random so that she can kind of play to the like concerns of a right winger, like, yeah, and then they can like just like, this is kind of like palm reading. So Anna Kasparian just says fucking nothing, right? And then a right winger can be like, oh yeah, the laws that she's talking about where trans people get rights and like straight men don't get rights or whatever, like they could just apply and project whatever belief they have on that because she's just fucking that's how she's like luring them in, I guess. Like, it's so fucking snake.
And so, of course, this has come up with the trans issue. And I've always been supportive of the transgender community. But when the rights of transgender people, particularly transgender women, start to cause some tension with the rights and freedoms of women or the perceived
this is abstraction of political concerns is a pet peeve of mine. Yeah.
Safety of women. Well, let's have a conversation and avoid assuming the worst of the people who want to have that conversation, right? Because I think that in a country...
What do you mean conversation? Nancy Mace is just out here fucking screaming at trans people about bathrooms fucking like 180 times a day.
Like America.
She just said trans women aren't women. I know, right?
America, where you have so many different people with so many different backgrounds, beliefs, people of faith. The only way this works is if we respect each other and actually engage in these conversations in good faith. And I felt that the left was able to do that back in the day. And I don't know what happened, but we've moved further and further away from being able to have those conversations.
She's just literally wrong about a few topics. I mean, she's wrong about more than a few, but like a few topics that she gets dunked on for. And because she's unwilling to move off it, she's like, the left is unwilling, and it's impossible to talk to them. It's like, Hannah Kasparian, you are the one being impossible to talk to. You are dug in on turf mindset shit for no reason.
In good faith, without assuming malice toward individuals who have a slight difference of opinion.
So, I mean, well, let me just ask you first. Do you believe in the Bill of Rights?
I believe in the Bill of Rights. Fuck you, Annie. You never engages in good faith with any single thing. She doesn't.
Of course, yes.
All of them?
I love this
The right
country.
go.
Yeah, I know.
I love this country. I love the idea of this country.
Right, I'm not questioning. I just want to know, do you believe in the Bill of Rights as written? Mm-hmm. Okay. That used to be our unum. We could all come together and disagree and live different lifestyles as long as I'm not taking away your rights. You're not taking away my rights.
Right, yeah. So you're doing that to trans people by limiting their freedom of expression. Yep, that's literally it. Yeah, correct. You're not allowing them to express themselves freely. We should also have an expanded Bill of Rights because we deserve more.
I have a right to disagree with you. We can have conversations about anything and walk away and go, see you tomorrow, Bill. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's what's happened to us. There's been...
I've literally done that my whole life. What do you... This is crazy to think that, like, you can't have these conversations. No, it's when people... like, you cut people out because they're like, yep, I'm actually just going to be a racist. It's like, that's not reasonable. Bill doesn't get to be my fucking pal when he's out here saying slurs constantly. Like, you guys moved to the fucking far right. It is what it is. Y'all are fucking fascists. You do not want people to have the rights that you say that you want them to have. You want certain people to have those rights and certain people to not be allowed them.
This erosion of education of how important the Bill of Rights is. We're looking now at a population, especially a younger population, that thinks that there's limits on speech.
Right.
There's not limit.
There are some limits, right?
What are they?
The typical example is you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater.
Not true. That was actually written by the Supreme Court to prove against that.
Really?
Yeah, it was not.
But you can't incite violence.
Yes,
you
that's
can't engage in defamation.
You can't say things that directly incite violence or panic.
Right.
That's like literally... So free speech is carved away a little bit by that, right? And I agree with it because freedom of speech, while good, is also... Like, I think freedom of speech for a normal citizen is whatever. I don't think you should be able to profit on lies. And this is what these fuckers do. They profit on lies. And I don't think you should be able to, like, just constantly fucking say untruths in this kind of setting.
And it's very clear when, we're going to go kill them and we're going to kill them now. That's the end of freedom of speech.
Right.
But without freedom of speech, where we can't say, I'm sorry, I respect this person, I love this person.
I respect and love them, but I'm going to describe something where I don't do either of those activities.
Can live their life, but if I'm taking them to the hospital, I am telling the doctor that's a man, not...
See? Crazy stuff.
Not a woman. Mm. Now, they can call themselves whatever. I could even be cool.
Quote, trans women aren't women doesn't incite violence, though, of course, right? No, it's secondary violence, right? It's not direct inciting of violence. It is foment. We're only heating up the pot. We're not the boiling water, you see.
Totally cool with it, but we have to be able to have a civil, non-hateful conversation.
Okay, non-hateful. Describe Nancy Mace to me in a way that makes her sound non-hateful. You fucking loser.
About truth.
I mean, I agree with you on that. And, the argument, and I think this is a decent argument that you'll hear from those who are more restrictive or wanting more restrictions on speech is, well, we want better terms of service when it comes to, private companies, but free speech only has to do with the government. And if the government isn't violating your free speech, then why are we complaining about,
That's not a problem if the government's not in bed with all of the business. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Interesting. What do you mean by that?
Republicans used to be the big business people.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And
I think they.
What do you mean they used to be? Glenn, come on. Do you hear her, by the way? She's like, oh yeah, teach me, Glenn. Teach me. Interesting. It's so funny how pandering she is right now. She wants this right-wing audience. She's pivoting. She's been pivoting.
They still are to a large extent.
I think remember we talked about those, the three with Republicans. There's that machinery Republican. They're all in bed still. They're all in bed. That
Donald Trump.
That section, I hope, comes to an end. But there'll always be those people.
You literally voted for president for that. What are you talking about?
So I agree with you on that.
I disagree that you agree with me on that. Maybe you agree with her though. Maybe she fucking agrees. She's like, Donald Trump's not that bad because of the business.
But it was
Dr. Randy. I literally almost called him Glenjamin. I'm not kidding. I stopped. That's why I fucking laughed for a second and then said Glenn. This is just basically for me and Dr. Randy. And probably Sarah. I almost called him Glenjamin. I was almost like Glenjamin. And madly. That's because of our D&D group.
When you're in bed, especially now, I don't know how you define fascism, but fascism, the technical definition of fascism, is a public-private partnership with the government and private industry. Communism doesn't let you have private ownership. Fascism says, no, you can have private industry, but you're going to do it our way.
I don't know if that is a description of fascism at all. I think that's a description of the type of economic system that, Germany had in World War II.
And we'll let you have the company. And if you don't want to do it our way, we'll destroy you, take it away from you or whatever.
Is he arguing that regulations are that?
We've been headed that way for 100+ years. Both sides have been doing it. Right now, the public-private partnership where the government says, we can't do this, but you can. That's fascism.
That's not fascism. That's corporatism. That's like oligarchy. The fascism... God damn it. The fascism can live alongside that, but that's not what a description of fascism is.
That's wildly dangerous. And both sides have a propensity to do that because they both like power and both like control and money. But because of social media and Google and everything else, we are in a situation to where who's controlling whom? Which?
The corporations.
One is more afraid of the other, the government or Google? Who's afraid of who? You know what I mean? Who has more power?
Well, I would say right now it feels as though the corporations have more power.
I agree with you.
Especially...
Okay, then why are you both capitalists, you dumb fucks? Idiots.
Considering the fact that, corporate interests fund politicians on both sides of the political aisle. And so they're completely captured by corporate interests.
Correct.
And I think that has happened to the detriment of the American people, regardless of whether they vote Democrat or Republican. And so what I see as a bigger problem when it comes to this speech question and how it's impacting private companies is that private companies are increasingly catering to niche audiences or one side of the political spectrum over the other. And unfortunately, and I understand this because I think I was also kind of in that bubble of seeking content or information that only validated what I already believed because it's comfortable. And
I think I only watch right-wing content and it's my curse. Forever. Since I started the internet, I just, hey, look at this right-wing shit. Isn't this bad? Yeah. It's bad. It's still bad. The right-wing stuff is not good.
Totally understand why people do that. I used to do that myself. I didn't do it consciously. It was like a thing that I think I was just doing because it's like, I trust this source because this source is reporting accurately. But it turns out, no, I actually trust that source because that source is telling me what I want to hear.
Correct.
And so this is a huge problem because the divisions in the country and the inability...
Excuse me.
Because the divisions in the country and the inability to have conversations with people you disagree with, I think is a product of the bubbles that we live in, right? The media bubbles we live in. And I don't know how to fix that. I mean, one way that I've tried is by providing counter narratives and a different point of view or playing devil's advocate on TYT.
Fucking, I was just pretending to be a dumbass. Is this what I was doing devil's advocate? I was offering an alternative perspective. That isn't mine, of course.
Or more importantly, if I've changed my mind, I want to be as honest with my audience as possible.
You have to.
And living in Los Angeles, living in California, which is completely controlled by the Democratic Party, it has allowed me to see some of the flaws in the policies that the Democratic Party is pushing for on a more national scale. And I don't want that to happen if I've experienced some of these policies and they have not worked out so well. But what's interesting...
Glenn Beck just going, over and over is bothering me.
Interesting is the resistance to any of that critique that you'll see from, not everyone in the audience, not even the majority of the audience, but there's always that very loud minority of people who demand that you only tell them what they want to hear.
I know.
Who is that?
And validate what they already believe.
Or you're a traitor.
Or you're a traitor, exactly. Yeah. Or a grifter.
I think, one of the things, I love that one.
Yeah.
I was against Trump in 2016, very vocal about it.
But you're, so you said, so you're anti-corporate, but you're pro-Trump this time around? Fucking idiot. Thank you.
I remember.
And I was a traitor and a grifter. I was just trying to make money. And then he did some things that I said he'll never do. And I agreed with the policies. And I had said, if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. I did. And I was a grifter and a traitor again. I mean, it's just, there's no way to win.
There's no
more
way
with
winning.
Anna.
Oh, hey, that counts as a way to leave.
Daddy, I just need a little help.
Ugh. Well, that's the end of that segment with Anna Kasparian and stupid fucking Glenn Beck. I don't think they're right people. Anna Kasparian.
Screw it. I don't want to play anymore.
Lovingly spending some time with Glenn Beck in their cozy little place. I hope for her. Maybe she's. Hey, will you let me be on this desk with you, Glenn? It was a job interview for sure. Did she get the job? She definitely didn't say anything of substance. That's for sure. Which is exactly what you need to work for Glenn Beck.